Hello, Dana. Welcome to the Kayton Travel Show, part two.
Thank you, Wendy. Great to be back.
Thank you for coming back again. So today I'm really excited to talk about, all the questions that we as travel agents or Canadians are thinking where to go next. And I have been seeing some kind of trends of Canadians for my personal clients that are more so wanting to travel, domestically, more so international. They actually have been canceling all their trips internationally. And just want to see what your take is on Canadians traveling this summer and where we can or can't go. I guess we can have that conversation. What do you think?
Well, what we see is a few different things happening. One of the surveys that Destination Canada put out there was asking a question about consumer sentiment, what people were open to, what they wanted to do. And they also do something where they track the searches. They track the like a Google search. They see who's looking for travel, and it seems that Destination Canada has determined that the amount of interest in terms of each province. So, for example, the interest in someone visiting BC from Ontario, the amount of interest and based on that tracking is almost the same as it was this time last year. So in other words, it's almost recovered to normal levels in terms of domestic interest in visiting Canada. So we thought that was very interesting. One of the things that we found very useful is a website, which I know you're familiar with. It's a website, Destination Canada, where they give you an interactive map. And the interactive map is interesting because, Wendy, you'll show this now. The interactive map will actually show you by hovering over each of the provinces if you're able to go there. So if I'm in, let's say, Toronto, and I wanted to visit British Columbia, I can go to this map and take a look and see, is it okay for me to visit British Columbia? I think that consumers will find, for the most part, that they are able to travel to provinces within Canada.
Yeah, I think this is what you're talking about.
With right, exactly. It's a really helpful tool to work in when consumers speak to their travel agents about where they want to travel. What else did we discover? I mean, I think that was really, those are the big things. You know, consumer interest was one. People are very interested in traveling intra-provincially and inter-provincially. And they're still doing almost as many searches for travel as they did this time last year, which is very telling.
Yeah, very, very, very well put together. Actually, most people don't even know about this Destination Canada website. It's actually a tourism collaboration that the government has put together. And we as a travel agents have had a lot of, inquiries of people wanting to travel locally. And Destination Canada right now actually has been working a great deal to try to promote domestic travel. They usually use it for outbound for inbound international travelers, but now they have been more focusing on local Canadian travel. So I love this website. It's got what you just mentioned here. It talks about the restrictions up to date per province. I know, as we know right now, the northern territories are very hard to get to, and so are the Atlantic and Atlantic side. But so far, there's no bubbles that we know of that can go from BC all the way to your home province. So I think, and most of my travelers are actually going either, the Banff area and BC area road trip, or they're basically just wanting to just drive across and just head over to Ontario.
You know, and I think as things start to open up, I think consumers will start to get a little bit more adventurous, but nobody wants to find themselves in a position where they get to where they're going and there's a surprise waiting for them at the other end, meaning a quarantine, or they find out quarantine, they have to, a period they have to go through when they get home. And so far, again, for the most part, we're finding that traveling between provinces is okay. It's okay now.
Right. So yeah, so I'm totally happy about that, and just to kind of share a little bit with you, I'm not too sure that the same with on the eastern side. I know you guys have rivers, you guys have oceans and lakes and everything, but Alberta, we most people are actually heading out to BC, but they're also taking care. They're wanting to travel around the mountain area, and renting RV is really big with us here, and then just camping, just hardcore camping here, and then yeah. So I'm just happy to see Canadians spending more time locally. So yeah, and is there do you see any difference in the tourism where you are?
The way that Ontario is opening up, it's happening in stages depending on where you are and which municipalities were hardest hit. So the municipality that I'm in is in phase 2. Some municipalities are in phase 3, and some are still in phase 1. I think that Windsor, Essex County was one of the harder hit. And I don't remember if it was a breakout on one of the agricultural spots or exactly what happened there. But there were a couple of hot spots left that were now just in phase 1. Phase 2 means, personal care is open. The gyms, I don't think open, like a place to work out, they don't open until phase 3. But anyway, so that's what Ontario is, because Ontario is massive. In terms of the number, I think 444 municipalities in the province. So there's those 3 buckets. Things feel like they're kind of returning to some semblance of normal, but of course now with so many of the municipalities making face masks mandatory, I don't know, are they doing that in BC and Alberta as well?
No, they're proposing it. I guess people are just kind of going both ways. Some of them want to wear it, for some of them don't really want to wear it. So, but right now, none of the areas are mandatory right now, as we speak. And can you hear me there, Dana?
Right. So I think, I'm sorry?
Oh, sorry, you were frozen there a little bit. Can you hear me now?
I'm sorry, Wendy?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, yep.
Perfect.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess with that imposing right now, I think most people are not traveling out there. And maybe for the last couple of parts, I know that other than local travel, people are really looking forward to next year, 2021. And I know that we talk about cruising. In order to be a cruiser, most of us, for Canadians, we had to fly out. So I guess kind of talk about the 2 parts here. With that said, let's talk about the cruising industry. I have received quite a bit of, I guess, news that most of the suspensions of all the major cruise lines are extending to even end of October, even as far as December. So I guess, I guess it's maybe a good thing in a way that they're preparing so that people are ready for 2021. And what is your take on that?
So I think there's a few moving parts when it comes to the cruises. I think it was last week that the CDC, they had a deadline of July 24th for the first no sail order, which meant no one clearly could operate a cruise vessel. They advised the community last week. They've now extended that no sail order through the end of September. So the way it works with the cruise lines is there's a very important part of their business that's called base loading, which is that I want to book further away. And then as I get closer into sailing to the sail date, I can raise my prices because I can feel pretty good that most of the ship is going to be full, and then I can start to raise my, it's the way that the revenue model works. So if I'm a cruise line and I've got this CDC saying nobody can sail until September 30th. That doesn't just mean September 30th for most cruise lines. They need to have a buffer in there because they can't start sailing, let's say October 1st. They could, but it wouldn't be prudent for reasons with regard to the way the model works and filling the ships and the amount of time it takes to get the sails and so on. So it doesn't surprise me that the cruise lines are pushing out that sail date a little bit further, partly because of mostly because of the September 30th date, but also because they need to give it a bit of a buffer after that period. Having said all that, the cruise lines are seeing a very healthy uptick in business for 2021. I think people are all just sort of assuming that by then everything is going to be back to normal or as close to normal as it can be. So I think I think it's a great sign. I don't think anyone feels comfortable sailing in the fall because frankly, they don't know if they're going to be able to, but I don't think that there's any other, reason the consumer would say, I don't want to go yet. I think they're ready.
No, very, very well put together. I think booking ahead, and right now I'm also seeing a lot of suppliers being very, very flexible with their booking, and like lower deposits, or even just you can cancel even up to a very, very close date for suppliers. So I think the industry is trying to get a rebound, and I'm seeing that the upwards of the tourism coming back, even just for me personally too. So it's a great thing. And so with that said, maybe you can just touch a little bit on the flights. I mean, what people are seeing, like mandatory masks wearing and such restrictions are being imposed. And what have you heard so far?
Well, I haven't heard very much, but I can tell you that I was reading on the Canadian government website about the fact that it is mandatory for people to wear, for travelers, to wear a face mask on an aircraft. I think they have 3 exceptions having to do with if I'm a senior and I can't reach it to take it off, or if I have breathing problems. But those are the only exceptions. But otherwise, it is mandatory to wear a face mask while you're on board, according to the Canadian government's website. And they also indicated on there, and we can send out the link for this as well, but it indicated on the website that they are doing mandatory health screenings, temperature checks before people are boarding. I think there was also a comment on there about if I had some symptoms in the past 14 days, that they may not let you board. So I think they're being very, very careful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you pretty much touch on all the points here. So, I'm really glad to have you back again there, Dana. Always a pleasure. And you always give us the really good highlights. And if consumers want to get hold of us,